What's up, guys? It's Anderson St. Clair here with co-host Ryan Manis and Cal Grubbs, and today we're going to be talking about turf and artificial turf, or artificial turf and natural grass, and we're going to be comparing them and talking about the injury rates in the NFL and how it's affecting players in their games and putting them out for a whole season, and they're missing a lot of time on the football field. So, as Liberty football players, because we all play football here, what are y'all's experience as playing on turf or grass throughout high school, middle school, and now here at Liberty?
Yeah, so back in high school, so our conference, like our division in East Tennessee, it was mainly we had a lot of turf fields and we also had a lot of grass fields.
Yeah.
It was usually split half and half. Our home field was turf, so I mean that kind of made it difficult on us during practice. We had a few guys get non-contact injuries during practice, just like wide receivers running simple routes. Or just like an offensive lineman pulling out in space and they'd go to cut and their foot would slip and they'd tear an ACL.
Yeah.
Also, I could tell a major difference playing at one school that had grass field, that had a grass field. And when we played on that, I felt a lot more safer on that field with like my plants and cutting and stuff like that and blocking. It had a lot more grip to it, especially on dry days.
Yeah.
Where you could really dig your cleat to the ground and have no worries about slipping or anything like that. And then we also had a game on Swan High School's turf field, and we actually had a dude, offensive lineman, slip and somebody land on him and he tore all his ligaments in his knee. And we never had any issues like that playing on the grass field. It only happened on those turf fields.
Yeah, and I know that in the NFL, you look at guys like Christian McCaffrey, and back in 2018, 2019, or 2019, 2020, and 2021, he was missing a lot of time due to just slipping and ankle injuries and all these little nagging injuries that shouldn't put you out for long, but it kept reoccurring from playing on the grass or the turf fields, opposed to when he would play away on the grass, he was fine. He was ready to go and he was healthy, but I know for me, when I got to Liberty, I got injured with a fracture on my big toe on the left foot, and a part of that was all the sliding I was doing because I was so used to playing on grass fields. My home field in high school was grass, and then when I got here, playing on turf, I wasn't used to all the slipping and sliding and stuff, and so I think that definitely played a big part of my injury and put me out most of my freshman year, which really stunk. But yeah, what are your
that transition between grass and turf has really been like dangerous for a lot of guys. You see that in the NFL a lot, where even this year you have a lot more big name players getting taken out from injuries on turf. And from high school, we had same as you, split 50-50. Half the teams of the conference were turf, half were grass, and you could noticeably see the difference with how we played on grass. The team looked faster. We felt better after the game, getting tackled. That's cutting everything on grass felt a lot better than it did on turf.
Yeah.
And those injuries just weren't happening as much. Especially you look in the NFL, they're going from inside on turf, outside on grass. They're constantly making that switch back and forth.
Yep.
And it's just something that hopefully could be avoidable.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing right now in the NFL, as it talks about in the op-ed, which I did my research and I specifically found the Carolina Panthers field and owner David Tepper. We went from natural grass and we switched over to artificial turf. But there's a lot of reasons for the turf. It's obviously no owner wants their players or people on the team getting injured, but a big part of it is the money thing. It is expensive to get the turf in, but it's a maintenance thing too. It doesn't require a lot of maintenance. Once you put it down, it's there for about 5-10 years, and they come back and redo the turf. And so with grass, you've got to mow it, you've got to paint the lines week after week. So there's a lot of things that go into the grass stuff, but I think the number one thing is keeping your players healthy. That should be your number one priority over the money and all that. And then because you want them on the field for the best chances to win.
Yeah, but I was reading a little bit on it too. Like I've read a few articles about turf versus grass is like being a football player anyways. So that's always a hot topic that comes around. And you look at all these big NFL stadiums. The main reason they're turf is they have multiple events going on in those stadiums. You know, they don't always. It's not always football games that are played.
Yeah.
You know, they bring in concerts. Like, you know, that brings in more revenue and a bigger name for that stadium if, you know, those big time artists are coming in and performing at those stadiums. So I think that's also a big reason why they have turf, but that still shouldn't be an excuse.
I think it's good that you brought that up, actually, Cal, because the Carolina Panthers actually have their own soccer team. Well, the Panthers owner David Tepper owns a team, and it's called Charlotte FC, and it's a pro soccer team, and they play on it, and they seem to be doing fine. But soccer is a completely different sport. There's not a lot of cutting. It's more just straight down the line running. And then, like you said, there's a lot of concerts. It's a big concert venue with country artists and people coming in week after week. And so it serves as a multi-use place, not just for football. And so I think that's one of those things where it's like the owners have to look at it as it's not just for football and injuries. It's for a lot of things combined, and that's where they make the decision to go with the turf over keeping the artificial grass. Because if they kept grass, it's going to get tore up during concerts and all that,
exactly.
and they're just going to have to replace it.
One thing that I don't know, I'm sure y'all have noticed being like Liberty football players here, there's a lot of maintenance that goes into our turf field. You know, they have people brushing it, they have people spraying stuff down on it. There's a different level that you can take your maintenance on the turf field. You know, some organizations may not take it as seriously. You know, we're fortunate enough to where we have, you know, people taking care of it, but, you know, again, grass needs to be taken care of. Turf, if you want it to be as safe as it can be, it needs to be taken care of as well. So honestly, like,
well, I think that's good that you brought it up because, you know, typically if you look at it on both sides, you know, you can make the argument that grass is easier to maintain, you know, but you can also make the argument that turf is easier to maintain. But it just depends because, you know, here at Liberty, they're always raking the fields because all the little rubber pellets and stuff. And a lot of the time they'll get like clogged up to where you have so many rubber pellets and that causes you to slip.
Yeah.
But when it's raked out, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
So it's really, it's how your maintenance crew does and the demand for it. But I really think at the end of the day, it should come down to the players, just safety for them, you know, because you want them on the field to produce, and at the end of the day, you want to go to the Super Bowl, right? And so just reading the articles and, you know, comparing guys like Christian McCaffrey and Najee Harris, you know, Najee Harris, when he came into the league, he was able to produce so much, whereas, you know, Christian McCaffrey, an all-pro running back, I mean, he's really good, but, you know, not being available, you can't really do anything. And so, you know, Najee Harris is playing on grass field where the Steelers play at his home field, and so he has that advantage, whereas Christian McCaffrey did not, you know. So that's an unfortunate thing. Playing on turf.
Definitely. I kind of liked how you brought up the point with the turf pellets kind of getting, you know, clumped up together. That's obviously would cause that slippage. And then torn ligaments or just small, even like small, like ankle tweaks and stuff like that from that. But also turf, if it's not well cleaned, you know, someone slides, they get bad turf burn, and usually that turf is full of bacteria and stuff, and you know that causes bad infections, include like staph, for an example. I see a lot of guys that play on turf fields, you know, they'll get turf burn and then they'll get really, really bad staph infection just from that turf. So I think that's also like another point on why grass would be a little bit better. You don't get those turf burns and infections from grass.
There's just a different layer of give that grass has.
Yeah.
That, you know, as of right now, like, you know, turf might be the surface of the future, but as of at its current state, it's just not the same. And
I feel like kind of the older you get, you know, once you kind of get into high school, you start to see more of like the private schools, and they're playing on turf, you know. But most of the, you know, public schools, you're on grass, and then you kind of transition to college, you know, especially at the D1 level, like we're at the FBS. It's a lot of turf everywhere you go, and so you can definitely see the difference. And I know as football players, and I know all the NFL guys have vouched and tried to get their owners to switch to go back to grass for the teams that have the turf, and they're trying to make a change, but there's not much they can do, you know, because it's hard to get these owners to budge and spend the money to go back on just grass. So, but I appreciate y'all coming on the podcast, and I think we'll just wrap it up here.
Yeah.